Thank you for tuning in to the Jumping Off Sides podcast.
If you haven't already, please like, follow, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
You can also look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for all the most recent events in sports.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Oh, Great American Pillow Fight coming at you.
Man, take me out. Somebody just turned the go switch on these suckers and people are moving a lot faster. Something's going on, and I am ready.
On behalf of Jumping Off Sides, we'd like to thank our presenting sponsors, Rubber Boot Crawfish Company. With 2 locations to serve you on Uri Drive and Mansfield Road, don't forget to ask about the 5-pound box special. Tell them Jumping Off Sides sent you.
Now, from Suite 11 at Louisiana Downs Casino and Racetrack in some basement in rural Central Florida, it's the Jumping Off Sides Podcast Network. Here's your host, Chance, JD, and Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jumping Off Sides, episode 38 tonight, brought to you by Louisiana Racetrack and Casino, Louisiana Downs Racetrack and Casino. It's racing season. Quarter horse time is all the time here from January through March. And if you gamble, gamble responsibly. Dial that number, 1-877-770-7867 if you have a problem. But as always, we are glad to be here. Like we said, episode 38, big-time guest tonight, JD. Our MP, which is missing piece, is not here, Mike Pearson.
Missing again.
Missing in action. We're going to start calling him MIA. But so tonight, this is huge for us growing up in Athens, Louisiana. I can tell you all my life I heard about a name. I just kept hearing a name from my granddad, from your dad, from my dad, small town Athens, and basketball. They lived it. Didn't have football there or anything, so it was all about basketball. So growing up, we heard one name, and he scored over 100 points in the game and all that. And so one day I was at Silver Star, and I met this guy named Brian Procell, and he got to talking. He said, my dad's going to be coming over today for lunch. I said, who's your dad? He goes, Greg Procell. I said, my God, I've heard that name my whole life. I said, is that the Greg? He said, that's him. And he said, yeah, the ball hog, he's coming over. I said, no, I've got to meet him. So I got to meet him. And so we are honored to have him here tonight because he's not only a good friend my good friend's dad, but he's also my good friend, and get to go to his lake house. He's always taken me in, bought my lunch 1,000,000 times when I couldn't do it myself. But glad to have him. 6,702 is a number that sticks out, and it is for this man right here, the one and only Greg Procell, the national high school basketball all-time scoring leader, and to me, that's probably a number that will never be touched. But we're glad to have you here, Greg. Thank you for being with us.
Thank y'all for inviting me.
Yes, sir. Like I said, you might as well lived in New York as far as we were concerned, being in Athens, and then our folks, you being down there around Zawali and in that area, Sabine Parish, right?
Sabine Parish, Ebarb High School, 1970.
1970.
Had 14 kids in that class. I was in the top 10 academic.
I was on the bottom half of my 10, so there we go. That's awesome.
In that top 10%.
Yeah, top 10. Yeah.
Now you were one of 10 kids, though, right?
One of 10, 6 boys and 4 girls.
Wow.
Dang.
And the only one to have a college degree.
College degree out of the 10. Yep, fortunate enough to do it.
Now, what's the age difference in y'all?
My oldest brother's supposed to be 85. Wow. My baby sister, she's 67 or 68, maybe, something like that.
Dang.
So,
Okay.
Pretty broadened out there.
yeah, pretty broad out family. Of course, back then everybody had big families, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Work on a farm, and you know, that's what we did.
Well, going back to all that, because I'm fascinated when I talk to world-class athletes, which you are. You can downplay it all you want, and I've seen you on the boat. I've seen you. He came over to Athens one day about a year ago. We went down to the cafe and we got done. He says, "Is there a gym around here?" I said, "Yeah, I want you to come where I grew up. You may have played here," which he had not. But we go and, hey, I think he missed 2 shots the whole time we were there. I just sitting there.
And too kind.
No, I'm not. Now I've seen enough.
Pure shooter.
I've seen enough. Like it's that touch. Like mine would hit, boom, bounce off the half court. His would hit it. They just go in. There's something about a shooter will always be able to shoot.
Yeah.
You,
Get
my
that friendly roll.
Yep, he can still do it. But to learn how to shoot like that, and it's something that never left with muscle memory. But how did you start? Tell us about that and how you got your form and what you. And I hate to talk too much in a question, but like the way that you started. In your advice for kids coming up anywhere from 4 to 10 years old and trying to shoot on a 10-foot? I mean, are we shooting on
I think that kind of helped me to shoot at something lower, you know, and I think it's a mistake that a lot of parents and coaches make with little bitty kids they develop shooting it from their hip and where else. I got started, I guess, become crazy about basketball. Of course, that's all it was. And I started about in the 4th or 5th grade, I think it was, and we were pretty poor people. We had a smokehouse that we'd smoke wild game in, and I got me a number 3 foot tub, about that big around. And my daddy and his uncles were drinking Schlitz beer back then, and they had a number 3 wash tub over there on the side of the smokehouse. So I'd go get it and pull it around there, and I would shoot those beer cans into that old bucket there, but I was shooting so much it was building up, messing up the door. Daddy couldn't get in and out of the door, so I did that, and he fussed at me and all. And I had to get a shovel and get the dirt out of the way where we could go in and out of the smokehouse. So finally, he got me a couple of sweet gum poles about that big around and start working me up. But we had before Toledo Bend, down the road from us, you had a basket, a regular 10-foot basket for the big kids. Then you had another basket down here for the little kids. And when you graduate, you come around. We was on the same tree. So, you know, but I did learn how to shoot not at a 10-foot goal. And I think that kind of helped me develop the way I held the ball and the way I shot it and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed your form and stuff. And you were, 70 years old then when we played? And your form is still impeccable. I mean,
I think that's got a lot to do with it. You got to have good form if you're going to be a shooter, you know. And the way you become a good shooter, you got to have some natural instincts, but you also got to practice and shoot a lot.
Yeah.
You know? And this day and time, most kids doesn't spend the time that I did shooting. So everybody asks me all the time, I was a practice nut. Nobody made me do it. My daddy didn't make me do it. My mama didn't make me do it.
You just loved it.
I did. I had a passion for it. And I mean, I'd shoot 4 or 5 hours a day, you know, and I did that probably until I was a junior in college. And I kind of lost some zeal and zest for the game, I guess. And I was fortunate enough, though, to go to school. And it's in the 60s now. We're scoring 90 and 100 points a ball game.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were 57 and 12.
2-point line.
Line. We was 57 and 12.
Yeah.
You know? And we played 14 tournaments all over the state. We played Woodlawn. We played Fair Park. We played Airline. And I think I'll never forget about Airline. We got to come up there and play. They had like 28 teams in the Airline tournament.
Wow.
So when we get there, we got a little, I call it special ed, not saying nothing about the little special ed bus, but, you know, we come up there in that, and we get out, yellow short bus, and we get ready to go out and play Mighty Airline Vikings. And when we come in the gym, they let class out for the ones that could pay to go to the game. And it was a day game. And as soon as we go in there, to our right was probably 150 pep squad girls from Woodlawn High School, all in red and white. Ken Ivey was the boys' basketball coach. Here they come walking in with silver stuff all over them, you know, and we barely had shorts and socks and not to match. And I'll never forget, though, and I tell this story because it's one I remember. I can't remember that guy's name, but we line up on a circle, and you know how you get there. I'm down, crouched down. He taps me on the leg. He said, "Hey, hot shot, you're not gonna get 40 tonight." and I was about from here to here. I just kind of looked at him, and I'm thinking in my mind, "You just don't know the ride you just get, buddy." And we got to running. We got to running and gunning in there. It wasn't 3 or 4 minutes. He was on the bench. He done fouled too much. I know.
How did you end up with?
Well, they say I still have the record there. 68, I think it was.
Who's counting?
But who's counting? Yeah.
I love it.
But anyway, we went all the way to the finals, and Bossier ended up beating us. They had Ken Elkins and Billy Don McCaffrey, but they barely beat us. And, we just run out of ammunition. But it was a good experience for us playing in big tournaments. And we played all over the place, you know. And they liked us to come because they knew they was going to see a show, because we was way ahead of most people,
Sure.
Yeah.
We was running gun.
Running gun.
Yeah,
That's right.
We want you to shoot it. If you miss it, we know we're going to shoot it and make it.
Yeah.
We let team ball.
Yeah,
I can remember in a huddle telling them, "Hey, let them shoot it.
Yeah.
If you miss it, though, you better be ready to go."
Yeah.
So were you a big trash talker?
No, I wasn't a big trash talker. I wasn't that. Everybody says I was pretty physical. I could have brought some scrapbooks.
You should have.
We let y'all an article come out when we were all grown men, and when we played Elizabeth, played them on a Friday night at Ebarb High School, the old gym, no ventilation in it. People smoked, and most of them was probably pretty high.
Stands all down by the out of bounds line.
It's hot in there, and here they come, and they had a bunch of young guys, and I didn't know all this till later. Article came out. They was talking about how physical we were, and the young kid that was a sophomore, here I am a senior, and I turned 19 in October my senior year.
Right.
He said, the coach told me that if he goes to the bathroom, you go with him, and all that. He said, he beat me to death. He said, and I mean, they wouldn't miss. He said, it was just too fast. He said, we weren't ready for all that speed, and those people get pretty wild back then at the games.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
Yeah,
we had the old clock too, with the zeros on.
Yeah.
Didn't have a one.
That's
Didn't have
right.
a one. It was, if you got to 100, it just turned to 00.
Yeah.
Right.
And they got kind of used to seeing them 00.
But like I said earlier, my dad he graduated, 2 years, I guess, before you did, and he went to a Class C school here in the state too, which, not necessarily the smallest class, but it was then, but it only went up to 3A back then for a lot of it, but basketball in Louisiana, especially in North Louisiana at that time, back in the 60s and 70s, especially in the 60s and early 70s, it was unreal. The coaches, a lot of the I guess you would call them directional schools like Northwestern and Southwestern and all those schools. They really put a lot into the areas because that's where their recruiting was, and it was real fertile. And what do you think about how that landscape has changed, especially like for our area, and just seeing kind of the way that the smaller schools around here have kind of shrunk down to almost nothing.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of it is, economics, and a lot of small schools, they combine them now with other schools.
Yeah.
It's happened all around. And Sabine Parish down there, they've been kind of lucky at that. And I say this all the time, to be able to support so many small schools, But that was a lifeblood of our community because we didn't even have a store there, And so when it was basketball time, it was basketball time, and everybody came out and supported us. And even if we traveled, that's the reason a lot of people invited us to go to the tournaments because, we had a big following, They was going to come watch the Running Rebels, I guarantee you. We was going to get it and go, and that's how we played. And I was fortunate to play with, a group of guys that they understood who the shooters were, the rebounders were, the ball handlers were, and that's I got paid the best compliment by Gene Wright from down in Sabine Parish. They played at Northwestern. It was All-American at Northwestern.
Wow.
Me and him was having dinner one day, and we always talked a little basketball, and he said, the one thing about y'all's team that a lot of people don't really realize, y'all did not know how to lose. And I didn't bother me so much that particular day, but I got to thinking about it, and I'm thinking, golly, that was a hell of a compliment.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You didn't know how to lose, and a lot of kids now, they just play, just to be playing, ha. And, it wasn't that way when I came up. When you hit that court, your job was to win, you know, and but
show
that
me,
was
show me a good
compliment.
loser, and I'll show you a loser.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know?
that's correct.
And that you just mentioned it, and I was going to say this. So every time anybody talks to you, they immediately talk about some of your teammates too, like Tootsie Roll.
Oh yeah, he was he was high school All-American too.
Right.
I'll tell you a story about him. Mr. Frank Ebarb was our 7th, 8th, and 9th grade coach, and Tootsie wouldn't play, and he didn't really play a lot this junior and senior year.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Frank picked me up one day and said, "We're going to go talk to Miss Cora." It was Tootsie Roll's mother,
Mm-hmm.
and we went and talked to her and had to talk her into letting him play because she was afraid he was going to get hurt and all,
Really?
And but boy, whenever he blossomed, he was a player. Now I guarantee you, he was.
So he was an All-American also.
Oh yeah, he
That's
was.
crazy.
Yeah, he was a heck of a player back in those days, and played it, practiced a lot. I signed with USL coming out of high school, and my coach Ken Ebarb, me and him actually had a big meeting up here this week with Bramer Engineering, which is y'all familiar with Bramer Engineering.
Yes, sir.
You're right.
We're working on a deal in Libya, and but he came there for the sole purpose of recruiting me to go to USL, and of course I'm a country boy, and signed with USL because of the money and that kind of thing. Of course, they got the death penalties, not because of me, but because
coming off of an elite.
Now, how much did they offer you?
Well, let's just say this here.
The statute of limitations is passed, but statute of limitations is passed.
Well, I'll tell you the whole story though. They got me a job working off the coast of Cameron, Louisiana. And when he come to pick me up out of the hotel, I stayed in the Hilton. I'm gonna tell you a story about the Hilton. He come to pick me up at the Hilton in Lafayette, Louisiana, and he had 2 priests with him. Well, he knew I was a Catholic boy. And here I am with 2 priests in the back, me and him, and here we go riding. I'm going to take you to your job. We go to Cameron. We get on this little ferry and go out to this island they call Monkey Island. It's there today. And they had a fish processing plant out there that one of the alums owned. And he said, "Okay, come in here, and I'm going to show you where you're going to be staying." They had some dormitories there for you to stay in, and I'll show you the kitchen and yada, yada. So we go in the kitchen first. And the 2 ladies that was in there cooking, they was talking in French. I know they was talking about me, and
They were saying, "Look at this good-looking kid here."
So anyway, I came in through there and went down to the office, and the lady said, "Okay." She said, Monday, which was day after Sunday, we was down on a Saturday. He said, "You come in here to me, and I'm gonna show you a job." Mm-hmm. True story. So I go in there. She said, "Okay, come over here. I'm gonna show you your office." I go in this little office, and I got a desk there and a phone there and a yellow tablet with 3 sharpened pencils laying on there. She said, "If that phone rings, you take the number down and bring it to me." True story.
And how much were they paying you?
Let's see here. $10 an hour.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than his dad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I could work all I wanted. So, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you read between the lines?
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway.
Never stop. I'm a workaholic.
So anyway, I'm sitting there, man. I'm bored. That phone ain't ringing. I'm a country boy.
For
I'm used to
weeks.
working. I'm sitting there. So finally, I said, I got to go ask that woman. I said, "Ma'am, this phone's not ringing. I'm bored. I can't do this." And she said, "Well, Sonny, that phone's never going to ring." She goes in there and starts tracing the cord, and there ain't even a place to plug it in. So I called the coach and I said, "Look, I want to work in that plant. Let me go in that plant and work. You paid me $10 an hour." "Oh, no, you'll never go in there." And I said, "Well, I can't stay here. You're going to have to come get me." So I'm old country boy thinking from Lafayette to Cameron, you're looking at 2.5 hours, or 2 hours anyway. He said, "I'll be in 30 minutes to get you, boy." And man, I'm out there, and I saw a helicopter pad out there, but I didn't figure out it was for me. But I heard it, and they come to pick me up, took me back to Lafayette. I'll never forget this. Coach Cox, who was the assistant coach that's still living today, he was there with me, and he said, "Look, here's your tickets, Continental Trollway bus." And he said, "You got any money?" I said, "Oh, no, Coach. I sent all that money home. I had all that money on me. I had it in my duffel bag, And he gave me a $50 bill. Oh, you understand? Look, that's bad. Yeah, look, $50 bill.
Can't have that U.S. grant dollar.
No, So anyway, so I came back, and I knew I couldn't sign with another school in the Gulf South Conference. So I called Larry Green, who used to be at Converse, who's at Panola Junior College. And I called him, and he had been taking a nap, according to his wife. And I said, Coach, yada, yada. And I told him the deal. And he said, you sure you want to do this? Abe's Seafood, that used to be right over there off Kings Highway. We met there. I signed with Panola, ended up going to Panola Junior College. And it was just right for me because it was a small school and all.
Right.
But, everybody was wondering, well, he did this at Ebarb. He ain't going to do that at Panola, different talent level, yada, yada. And my first game, I scored 56.
At Panola.
At Panola Junior. I led the nation
I never
in
knew
scoring.
that.
I led the nation in scoring at Panola Junior College.
Wow.
Wow.
Sure did. I enjoyed it there. I loved it. If it had been a 4-year school, I'd have stayed there.
Yeah.
So you played there 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
And then what, you moved on? Or
I went to Northwestern.
Okay.
And went down there and played. I didn't play that much, played some, but they didn't play my kind of ball,
Yeah.
They played that old, you pass it here and pass it there, trying to wear it out before you shot it. I was way ahead of, I told my boys that we play high school, we're way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Right.
Back then you didn't do that.
Nobody
We played
was
teams,
running.
they wanted to, pass it and pass it and pass it. They played that old Kentucky type of ball.
Yeah.
And,
Adolph Rupp
yeah,
ball.
Adolph,
Yeah, slow
yeah,
and
but
score 40 a game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pass it
right,
6 times
which for
before
that,
you
for that
shoot.
era is pretty good, but here you got a group of kids that our deal was running,
Yeah.
You did not want to get in the running game with us because we did get tired.
Yeah.
Right.
We did
Yeah.
get tired.
That's all you did was play basketball and run.
That's
you know?
it. Yeah, like Forrest Gump, run.
So
Forrest, run.
so back to the USL deal. So you went down there during the summer, but you never did attend
I
school.
never did attend school.
Okay.
Okay.
But back then you signed with them, and did
Yeah.
they let you out of your letter of intent?
No.
Or
It was a rule.
or do you
back
have to
then.
wait a year?
You'd have to wait a year.
But
yeah.
going to a junior college.
Yeah,
you didn't
That's
have-
right. That's
Didn't
right.
make no
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
But
Dumb
tell you a story.
NCAA
And one day
stuff.
I'm in the gym at Panola, and the old gym is no longer there now. The campus is real big now. It wasn't like it was when I went to school there. I'm in there shooting, and I hear Coach Green come. I could tell by his walk, I could hear them tennis shoes, old Converse, squeaking. And he said, "Look, it's a guy here with the NCAA wants to visit with you." He said, "I could be in there with you, or I'm gonna tell you how good they were back then." He said, "I can be in there with you, talk with him or whatever, but he wants to take you to dinner, So I go in there with the guy, and he said, "Look," he introduced himself. I can't remember his name, and he said, "Look, I'm gonna ask you some questions. If you want to answer, answer. If you don't worry about it." So anyway, he said, "The first time they took you down there, where did you stay?" I said, "I stayed at the Lafayette Hilton." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you remember what color the carpet was in that room?" And I'm thinking, why does he want to know about the carpet? And I said, "I believe it was blue." And he said, "That's what we got." And I'm thinking, how did he know that carpet in there was blue, And
Yeah.
that kind of bugged me, So anyway, he asked me some more questions. He said, "Did a guy pick you up in a red and white, what was a school car, Lectra 225 Buick?" I said, "Yes, sir." And where did he take you? Or what did he tell you when he picked you? He said, "You could either have booze, women, and food, or all of them." He said, "Well, that's what we got." So anyway, I visited with him. He was a nice guy. And, of course, the story. USL got the death penalty. But it wasn't because of me. I mean, they had players in there from all over. And it just wasn't a good fit for me.
Yeah.
I went to a smaller school. And I wish, now looking back, if I could have found me a school that was smaller, that played an up-tempo game, I would like to went to
Sure.
that.
Like who would you have thought? Like what schools would you have thinking back?
At that time, just about everybody played that old slow down ball.
Yeah.
And then years by it went back. UNLV, the Running Rebels, they got up down. Houston got up and down.
Mhm.
A guy with my size and my ability to shoot, you'd have to play with a team that could get up and down so you can get some open looks.
Yeah.
So.
Loyola Marymount
Yeah,
did that.
they did that. They had a lot of good talent on that team, but it wasn't a fit for me. I wasn't good at, hey, you stay here until he throws you the ball, then you go set this finger,
Yeah,
you cut
right.
here and all.
Right.
It just wasn't my style of ball.
Yeah.
And I love the style of ball they play now. I mean, I'd love to come along now, running gun and shot clock, 3-point line. Get
Yeah.
out of here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
what's-
think that's a lost art too now is, you don't see kids that are able to shoot the ball like they used to. And
Nope.
you brought something up that hit home with me because you talked about shooting on a smaller goal
Yeah.
as a kid. And when I was, growing up, my dad had a small goal, and he taught me how to shoot the ball with a small ball.
Yeah.
And get my form right,
Yeah.
and then we'd get a little bigger ball, and
yeah.
then I got to where I could shoot a girl's ball, and then he'd raise the goal up, and then by the time it was at 10 foot, I was good. But I never could shoot like you. But of course, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Kids don't do that now. I mean, you just
they
don't see it.
You see them throwing it, slinging it.
I
twisting it, and
behind my ear because I couldn't get it up
their
there.
backspin of the ball's turning this away, and it's just I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's a whole different.
Or shooting it from this side,
When people mention your name, or I mention your name, or JD to anybody, they go, "He scored 100 points in a game."
High school.
How old were you when you scored the 100 points? So were you
I was
sophomore?
No, I was a senior. We
Okay.
played Elizabeth High School. I was probably 18 and a half. We were country boys, and they were too. Elizabeth's a small school, but I didn't know about all this stuff those guys went through that night until they did an article on these guys were grown men, and they were talking about that environment, how strong, how fast these guys were, and we just they were a younger set of guys. He had lost most of his better players the year before, and then you expect a sophomore to come in there and guard Greg Procell, who is 175 pounds, nothing but muscle, can run like a gazelle, and can shoot. and I mean, I'm going to hit you if you get close to me. I'm not going to.
I love it.
So if you said, well, I'm a body up on him, well, you better be ready to be bodied up too, because But it was just it was a heck of an article. Whoever done it, I don't remember. And I'm thinking, golly, I can't believe we was that rough on them guys. But and actually, Coach Ebarb, who's 78, he actually took me out of the ball game because of the way I was scoring, and we beat him 149 to 69 or something like that.
Right.
And the fans started getting on him. And that's the only reason he put me back in to get to 100. So they were keeping up with it.
Wow.
They were keeping up with it, and they was in there in that small gym Friday night, and everybody's had a little snoot of that cold beer. And man, I tell you, it was a running gun. I mean, everybody was saying I was shooting at half court. Well, I don't remember that, but that's what they told me. There's no video of it.
Hey, if you're making them, shoot it.
Yeah.
Well, I know I had an uncle that also coached at Bienville. Ricky Spurlock coached down there, and Wesley Body was one of his big players, and you guys played them
in the regional Ebarb High School.
Yes.
1970. They had us down by 16 at halftime. And personnel-wise, they were a lot taller, bigger. I think Wesley was 6'3", 6'4". They had another guy 6'4", 6'5", and the tallest one on our team was Tootsie Roll, about 6'1".
Yeah.
And of course, we was trying to play a zone, and keep the ball from going inside. And we said after halftime, and that was my junior year. That was my junior year, I guess. Because we had an ag teacher, Mr. Raymond Ebarb. He's gone on to a better place, and but he kept us together, and we got in there and we said, this ain't our ball. When we went back out there, we started picking them up from in line to in line.
Yeah.
One thing led to other. We had 2 or 3 steals. We converted them. Things started getting tight and get tight and tight. And Bird Gym was so full of people, they had to put them on the floor, and a bunch of people from Ebarb was at the door raising Cane because they couldn't
get in.
They couldn't get in. Fire marshal stopped it. I mean, Bird's a big gym.
Yeah,
we played in there.
So anyway, come down to the last shot, and I just got lucky and it went in.
It was just inside half. What about the timeline, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit past half court, and I turned it loose,
and that was worth 2 points.
That was worth 2 points.
Yeah.
But anyway, on paper we should not have beat them. Same way my senior year with Pleasant Hill, they were bigger than us and everything, and we played them 12 times my senior year in tournaments, and we beat them 8 out of 12.
Really?
Yeah. Now, was Jerry Sally on that team?
No, he was gone. He was
older. Okay.
Yeah, but they had some good. They had some good players. That integration had helped them. They had 2 black kids on there. One of them we called Biscuit. The other was named Donald Williams, I believe. They were good ball players. But we played them 12 times our senior year and beat those guys. But on paper, they was.
Now, who would you consider to be in the best high school basketball player you ever played against?
let's see, high school basketball player. Well, we played Shreve, we played Woodlawn. Mike Rose was there at Woodlawn. He was a sophomore when we were seniors. He was pretty young, but he ended up being a pretty good player. You had Mike Harrell at Shreve, Jeff Sudds at Shreve, all those guys. Tommy Grubb at Shreve. We played Shreve 2 times, and they beat us both times.
Yeah.
They were very talented. Of course, they were 3A school, but it was a good challenge for us. But you had a lot of good high school players,
Yeah.
that we played against. Ken Elkins that went to Bossier.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Dodd McCaffrey, he was a good, scrappy ball player. A lot of good ball players,
Yeah.
Well, I tell people too, and I should have said this in the intro, but the thing that impresses me so much about your record and everything, like, not everybody's played in the NBA, not everybody's played college ball, but everybody, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kareem, Magic, they all played high school ball. And to have 6,702 points, I don't care if you shot the ball every time that it touched your hands. Like, they didn't do that,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a record that, I mean, the greatest of the greats have played and couldn't do that. So, like, that to me is something that stands the test of time for me, and what you did.
Well, it was a different era, a different time, just the right set of guys,
Yeah.
It wasn't nobody jealous of nobody. I mean, they knew who the 2 or 3 shooters were, the
Mhm.
rebounders were, and we just gelled together and worked together.
If you missed, was it like rapid right back out to you, hit it again?
Well, usually if I
type deal?
missed, I knew where it was going. And if one of my guys didn't get it, I was going to get it.
Yeah.
Because I was so good at shooting and had shot so much, even to this day, I can let it go and tell you where it's going to go.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I believe that after
Yeah.
sitting and shooting with you.
I mean, I could
I
tell
know
you
that.
it's going left, right, but I could tell when it left my hand whether it was going to go in or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
was really,
Oh, yeah.
at my peak, I could tell whether it was going to go in or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear so much now about, like what you were saying earlier, but there these close knit communities, it doesn't seem like are there as much anymore. And you got too much daddy ball and too much me ball, and these kids want to know that everybody wants the spotlight, and it's not about a team. And, like you said, everybody had their role. We knew who the shooters were. We knew who the rebounders were.
Right.
Like, whatever guy we had was the best defensive player on our team, he guarded their best player. You knew that, and it seems like now it's more about, everybody wanting the spotlight.
Yeah, right. And you see a lot of that. And, I compare it to what Larry Bird said one time, about he was going to take the last shot, and I asked him, why was you going to take the last shot? I said, well, I don't think that guy was there shot in practice as much as I did.
Yeah.
So
right.
why should he take the last shot?
Yeah.
I'm the guy that practiced all the time,
Yeah.
So I think it makes a difference if you put the time in,
Mhm.
It's like anything you do, you're going to get good at if you put the time in. And a lot of people, and now this day and time, kids got their computer in their hands, and they got cars, and they got this, and they got that, and we didn't have any of that. All we had was basketball, school, church, all right there together.
Well, we're not that good at this podcasting game yet, but we're working on it. Hopefully, we get good one day.
We tell our kids,
we're working
if you
at it.
Outwork everybody, you're going to be the best, and that's the truth of what you're talking about. And a lot of people like to talk about the 10,000 hour rule. If you work at something 10,000 hours, you're going to be the professional or the best at it. And that's obviously what you did, and then just ate it and everything. On behalf of Jumping Off Sides, we love to make picks for weekly games.
And sometimes we don't always get them right. We ask if you do gamble, please gamble responsibly.
And if you need help, please call 1-877-770-STOP. That's 1-877-770-7867. We would like to take this time to thank one of our corporate sponsors, Louisiana Downs Casino and Racetrack. Since 1974, Louisiana Downs has been the premier racetrack in all of America and continues to showcase the best horse racing has to offer. From quarter horse racing in January to thoroughbred racing in May, Louisiana Downs is where excitement is always at the finish line. After the college years, was there any kind of like disappointment that, well, I was the, air quotes, the greatest high school basketball player ever. In my mind, that's what I say you are. But was it any like, man, I didn't reach the NBA, and I know it wasn't what it is now. But
for me, I felt like, I burnt myself out because I was practicing.
mm-hmm.
And then I went to a school, and no offense to Coach Hildebrand, he's passed and gone on now, but that was all they knew back then. And is to play that kind of ball,
Yeah.
And as you see where the game has gone, it has shot clock, 3-point shot. Same thing in football now. Everybody wants to see points made,
Right.
And basketball was that way. And that was the thing that was unique about us in high school. We was going to give you a show.
Right.
And that's what people came to see. They knew that, hey, when them guys hit the court, it ain't going to be none of this, we're going to get up and down.
Right.
And so it's just a different time, different era. But this day and time, the athletes are so tremendous. I mean, it's unbelievable, the training they get, all that. It's
now how many shots did you average per game, you think, in high school?
whatever it took to win.
Yeah. You never did. You don't have any idea, like keep up. It's just whatever. Yeah.
Whatever it took to win.
Now, did y'all have I know you as a shooter, you had set plays, but what was your favorite one that you knew whenever they called it, you was fixing to get a bucket?
Most of our points, we'd like for you to shoot it and miss it, and then we take it, go and outnumber you, outrun you, and then get it to the shooters.
Yeah.
Without
and kick them out, or
without we had a guy that we knew when that ball come off and we got it, we're gonna get it to him. Then we are filling them lanes and we're running wide open because we were jump shooters.
Yeah,
I could be running wide open and stop on a dime. And I'm gonna drill it if I can see it. I'm gonna drill it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean, I feel that way today.
Yeah.
I went and watched Ebarb play a game. I talk about him and all. We were a pretty talented bunch back then. I could not believe this, guys. But the score was 12-9 at halftime.
Oh Lord,
12-9.
Mind-numbing.
I told some of the people there that just messed with me. I said, I want my money back and I'm leaving. 12-9.
No, and you see that so much now in high school, even college ball. They got 20-minute halves and they're scoring 22 points in a half. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. But if you watch the basketball, watch how many guys, even big guys, take the ball and go dribble to where the defense is instead of
pick a ball up.
Instead of you being out here and you got a gap,
mm-hmm.
and you
take that shot.
Yeah, you don't have the confidence.
They don't shoot enough.
He ain't done it. He ain't done it enough.
God, that's so good.
They'll take off and try to go inside and do some kind of hully-gully.
There you go.
But instead of pulling up, they're giving you room.
Be a pure shooter.
Yeah. Be a pure shooter. But you had to put the time in to do it.
Mm.
We've got a friend of ours, and I'm sure you've heard of him. He's a pro rodeo cowboy, calf roper, Randall Carlisle, and he held the national high school 3-point record for years. I think he got beat a couple years ago or whatever. But his dad had that gym there in Athens, the old Athens High School or whatever, and we'd go in there and play. And we were in there one day, and I said, Randall, let's see how many threes you can make out of 100. And I sat right there and watched him make 89 threes out of 100 right there. That's why he was as good and he could shoot like he did. It was just what it was.
Yeah.
It's an obsession.
It's practice makes perfect, and it's muscle memory.
That's
and it's just like professional golfers.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about that all the time, and fishing's the same way. Just a little flip of your finger sometimes can mean all the difference in the world.
I get asked that a lot. I say, why are you always catching fish? Well, I've done it. I've been fishing since I was born. I was raised in the water. I was raised in the Sabine River.
Yeah.
I lived out of Sabine River.
There was
Toledo Bend. And when I was in the school business, I guided on it. And but I studied. I know how to read water. I know what time of year they're going to bite, this kind of thing. And a lot of people, they won't know why they can't do it. Well, you hadn't spent the time to do it. It's just.
Well, let's talk about that. You come out of college and you got a degree and you're family oriented, the most lovely wife ever, 2 kids. I'm telling you.
Don't be sucking up.
Well, y'all met in high school
we met playing ball up here, and it was probably the best thing ever happened to me, And June we'll be married 53 years.
Right.
I don't know how she put up with me, but it wasn't easy. I know, because it's not easy putting up with an athlete. Because most of us is ADHD.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not, not easy to deal with at times. But I guess whatever we done, it worked for us, and here we go. But
well, so you get out of there. Where was you went right into school?
Yeah, right
in athletics.
Natchitoches Central.
Yeah.
Natchitoches Central.
Okay.
Coached PE. I coached football. I coached. I was a junior varsity freshman basketball coach,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that went to Huntington, stayed there, and because of the way the pay scale was in Caddo Parish, you made more money coaching football than you did basketball.
That's what I was going to ask you. You played not a down of football in your life. You end up being a football coach.
That's right. Enjoyed every minute of it.
Come on.
Because I guess it was new,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to learn a whole new sport, to be able to coach it,
Yeah.
And I had a great time, enjoyed every bit of it. And by guiding on Toledo Bend, though, a guy named John Trusclair, Texas A&M graduate,
Okay.
proud Texas A&M graduate.
That most are.
Yeah, I guided him. He was in the oil and gas business, and a guy paid for me to take his client fishing. So I go, and we got to be pretty good friends after a couple of years. And he said, you need to get in oil field sales. And I said, I don't know, John. I'm not trained for that and all that kind of stuff, And so one day he calls me. I was at Huntington High School, sitting behind my desk. I was assistant principal. He said, I got you a job. I said, what? He said, yeah, I got you a job with Gail Kimmel. You're going to be selling production chemical. All you got to do is go down there, and you're going to have a company credit card. You're going to make this much money. I said, well, that's more money than I'm making with a master's degree and 20-something years experience. He said, well, it's just different profession,
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to my wife, and she said, I think you're making a mistake. I catch a Continental Trailway bus downtown Shreveport, drive to Lafayette, Louisiana, go to his office, and I'm an oil field.
Well, and to talk about what a small world that the world is, and especially in the oil field. But so John David and I had a coach growing up named John Wayne Odom.
Yeah.
And he ended up being a business partner, right?
Yeah.
And he played for Northwestern, then played for the Houston Oilers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great lineman.
Yeah.
Wonderful. This is, everybody will tell you this, but I was his head manager at high school, and if anybody touched me or anybody, he'd hit them with his cane, he'd spit in their helmet. He loved me like his own, and I did him too. And so once I found that out, Coach Odom was one of my guys.
He was a great guy. See, I guided him. The way I really got to know him was him hiring me to guide him fishing. And, in his latter years, his health wasn't real good and everything, but that's how I really got to know him. Yeah, sure was in a fishing boat. Matter of fact, I think he caught the biggest bass ever caught in my boat. Yeah, sure did. I think he caught a 10-pounder one time. Wow. I know he did. And I know right where it was, actually, on Toledo Bend when he caught that fish. But great guy, old school, had a lot of influence on kids. And, hey, he was a good coach.
He also coached at St. Mary's.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Won a title at St. Mary's, and then came to Claiborne Academy and won in 1987 and 1990 at Claiborne Academy.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go, Coach O.
Coach O. That's the original Coach O.
That's the original Coach O.
We had a lot of good times around him and everything. Now, Brian's an avid fisherman, your son. I'm not going to say avid fisherman. He goes, but I've been down there and I've been on your lake house and stuff, and you opened the doors. What a tremendous place, and had a big time down there. But he's not taught me shit in fishing, so I want to go fishing with you, so I can actually learn something and catch. We didn't catch shit in 2 days, and he's so ADHD, like you said. But
but now he's into cooking.
Oh, big time! Oh yeah. Every time I talk, he's got a new cast iron, got a new something.
You ought to see it. You wouldn't believe it if you saw it.
I don't get invited over there with him. Yeah.
You probably know one of my cousins, Kurt Carver.
Oh gosh, do it,
yeah. His grandmother and my papa were brother and sister.
Oh, really?
So
wow.
Original Toledo town down there.
His daddy,
Glenn.
Dr. Carver. Yeah. And everybody don't realize I always call him Dr. Carver.
Yeah.
And he's the one who put the the squiggly tail in the
Mr.
plastic
Twister,
worm.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was
He
it.
did it. He did it in his barn in Athens up there when
Yeah.
he lived up there. When he was married to my dad's cousin, and
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
he built
started.
him all kind of baits that I got in trouble for taking to school. I
Yeah.
can tell you that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He built some funny stuff that I got in trouble. Chance
Yeah.
might remember it. It was show and tell, and I got in trouble.
You got in trouble.
I got in trouble for it. It was called the masturbate. If you can use your imagination, just use your imagination. It was a big black lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure was.
I imagine you did get in trouble.
Yeah, I got in bind on that one.
I do remember that. God almighty.
That's, yeah,
Yeah.
small world.
It is small.
So Huntington, you coach? Were you head coach or
No, I was
assistant?
assistant coach.
Yeah.
I quit coaching basketball because in Caddo Parish they pay you an extra a month's pay if you coach football in August.
Really?
So that was like another, you know.
Mhm.
So that's what I did, because when I came to Huntington High, this is a shame, America. You should be ashamed paying people like this. They paid me $800 a year for basketball for the varsity, JV, and freshman. You was responsible
Wow.
for $800 a year.
God.
Good
$800
Lord.
a year. I mean, that's a shame.
I don't know how anybody made it on that.
Yeah, you didn't.
No.
And see, I was why my best, not my best coach when I was there, but Mr. Frank Ebarb, that's the reason he left our freshman year. He knew how good we was going to be, but he couldn't feed his family. He said, time I paid my car note, my apartment note, I had 2 kids, I had $10 left. My first check at Natchitoches Central High School for a month was $450.
Wow.
$450. Come on now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I spend that sometime entertaining customers.
Right.
You know?
In a day.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I got to put a shout out to the coaches, teachers. You know, hey, you don't get paid enough. Much time you spend, many kids as you, talk to and you tender and take care of and nourish and help them
Absolutely.
grow up. It's just
Well, actually, kind of parent on a lot
Yeah.
of forces.
Hey,
And,
9 months out of the year, I'm around them more than the parents are.
right.
I mean,
You know?
I see my wife do it every day.
Yeah.
She's a high school English
Yeah.
teacher at Halton, and
Yeah.
and man, I tell her all the time, like, this is crazy. Like, she'll come home and she'll have 3 or 4 hours worth of grading to do.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, she's there at 7, works till 3, and then she has another 3 or 4 hours every day. And it's
Oh,
just like, man, I don't see how they do it. I wouldn't do it, but hey, more power to
Yeah.
you. If it's your calling, then
Yeah.
God
It
bless
is
you.
a calling for sure.
So
No doubt. No doubt.
so what did you have most fun coaching? Football or basketball?
I had more fun coaching football.
Yeah.
I sure did. For one thing, for good players that go into coaching their sport, you have to be not the best player on the team.
Mhm.
You need to be somebody that probably studied it more and all. Hardest thing for me in basketball was watching kids not have that natural instinct that I had.
Yeah.
And trying to get them to do that was just unbelievable. I mean, it just messed me up so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it sure did.
My bell's ringing right now. You got to tell this story. You say that about watching kids that couldn't do it. Tell our fans and your
I know
fans
it's coming.
all about Brian and basketball
gosh.
and how that went. Because
I was fixing to ask him about parents.
He tells it
Parents
so.
watching
Brian
the
tells it
kids.
so good. I got to hear his side of the story.
Well, they had a goal across the street. We didn't have one right there. We lived in town, but across the street they had a goal. And so one day we're out there, and I'm trying to tell you, he's left-handed.
Right,
he's
yeah.
completely
Already
backwards.
messed
Yeah,
up.
already
Yeah.
messed up.
Yeah.
The ball ain't. It's different. Anyway, we got out there, and I was trying to tell him, and I said, go ahead and take a few shots. He shoots that ball, and I'm not kidding with you now. The first ball he shot, it hit the rim, boom, and went on top of the neighbor's house, boom, and then come dribbling back. I said, okay, look here, you got to do yada yada. I was trying to coach him, and he shot it again. I said, boom, it went all the way across the street. Now y'all say, hell, go get your stuff going in the house. I said, just go on in the house.
Go back and play Nintendo.
Yeah, go back play Nintendo, which he likes to play today.
Yeah, that's
them
right.
games and
That's
stuff.
right. Yeah.
That wasn't his deal. Now he was a good football
He
player.
was a good
Yeah, I heard he
football
was a really
player.
good football player.
Yeah, that was his sport. It sure
Yeah.
was.
I have a
Played
friend.
linebacker, huh?
Yeah.
Outside linebacker. Yep.
Southwood Cowboy.
Southwood
I had,
Cowboys.
had a friend that he follows high school football so religiously, and I took him. I said, you know Brian, and he met Brian. He goes, was number 47, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. 47 Southwood Cowboy, weak side linebacker.
Yeah.
He said, "You'd have to put a hand in the ground now, though."
Yeah, yeah, he was about 210 when he played outside.
That's right.
linebacker.
Knock your head. So his old coach, we were at a golf tournament one time, and Brian's old coach was there, and Brian introduced me, and I said, would he hit, or was he pretty scared? He said, "He'd knock your dick in the dirt." I can see that too, because being a fullback and running back and stuff, and sometimes you'd have to lead block. And I would hate going up against an aggressive linebacker like that, because I can see that little sawed-off sucker shucking blocks.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shake doing this and over there, look like Water Boy.
He and I have ridden. I bet we've been 1,000,000 miles in the last 10 years together. And he'll be driving, because he's a control freak. He won't let you drive, and so he's driving, and you'll be over there sitting. And I like to tap on the windowsill while I'm there listening to the radio, and we'll be talking. I feel the truck, it'll kind of do this. And I'm not joking, it'll kind of move. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I look over and he's rocking.
Oh, yeah. He's rocking. Oh, yeah.
And we could be in utter silence, no music playing at all, but he's going to be moving. Son of a bitch, stop.
Yeah, he does that rocking.
Oh,
And
man.
it's time for us to pile on, even though he's not here.
Yeah, pile on.
Oh, I love him to death. He's like family, too. And you are for sure. I appreciate you coming on with us tonight.
Yeah, I've had a good time.
Well, I would say that's some old stories, might be a little history there somewhere or another, but
we love it. We love
I'm
it.
a fat old man now.
If you think of any more, you're a friend of the show now. So if you call us, or we may call you and say, "Hey, come back on with us." This has been really good.
I'd like to get, I've talked to Chance about it. I'd like to get you and my dad and some of those guys that played in an area just to kind of talk and come on
Chop
and just
it up.
have that sometime this winter, just kind of discuss, all the things about it, and, maybe have a longer version podcast one night. And, I think it'd be fun, because, y'all go to reminiscing and talk about this guy and that guy and this team. And
now, in that small town where y'all were and stuff, so we listened to our dads talk all our lives, and their big thing was pulling tires. Yeah. Did y'all do anything like that down there?
We didn't pull no tires.
Yeah.
We just ran in where we went.
Right.
But you know what pulling tires is.
Oh, yeah.
Because they
when
used
they
to come
came
wrapped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They'd get up there to it, and they'd pull it, and it was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, we stayed in shape year round, and hell, we were swimming and running every day in the summertime, and playing. Hey, we played like after church on Sundays, even when I was little down there before Toledo Bend, you went there hoping you could get a game.
Come on.
Because if you won, you kept the court.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you had your group of boys. You had the Beartown boys. You had the Minty boys. You had the Sap boys. You had that's what we call.
And what they call y'all?
I think they call. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember what our little group was called, but you had the Sap boys, the Minties. You had different areas. It wasn't no 2 or 3 miles apart.
Sure.
It was close.
Yeah.
But if you could hold the court, you stayed on the court. Dirt court. Now I'm talking about dirt.
Right. Yeah, we did the same thing. When John David and I grew up, and right across the tracks, we'd go from his house down to the tracks, and we'd have pick up games down there. And of course, there was one day we'd played, and it got pretty contentious, and we had some dudes playing with us, and the guy pulled a gun, and old Chance.
Hey,
I was at the railroad track, son.
Let me tell you this story.
Me if you
all right,
gonna shoot me in the ass, because I'm gone.
So we're down there, we're playing with them, and there's probably, it's 10 of us. We're 5-on-5, and it's in the middle of the summer. It's hot, and people are, one of these kids fouled this other kid. About that time, he pulls a pistol out of his gym shorts. I don't know where it was. He pulls it out and sticks it up to that other one's nose. And I'm standing from me to you, and I'm froze like, oh shit, like I'm not moving. Okay,
And
I didn't know what to do. And I look up, and all I see is the back of Chance's head, and him and his brother, and it was somebody else.
No, me and Philip Prince. Rand stayed down there with
Rand
you.
stayed with me. That's right. It was you and Philip.
Have a crayon
and all I
color
saw was
gone.
the back of their head, and they were gone. And I froze.
Yeah.
And he said, "I ain't scared of your pistol." And the other one said, "I know you ain't, because I got your bullets right here." Well, then I was like, "Oh shit!" You know, it was the game ended. We had to go home and tell our parents, like, "Look, some such and such pulled a pistol on the other one," and they're like, "Yeah, I ain't going back down there for a while." So then they had to come up to our house and play, and it was like they pat them down when they come through the gate, make sure they didn't have a pistol.
Well, down
He
there,
can't come.
down there where we was at, I mean, it's some fights out, but it was
Yeah.
all knuckles on knuckles.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then after it's over with, everybody go back to playing. Nobody never pulled a gun, but it was pretty competitive. It sure was.
But we had fun, when we were growing up too. Like I had a trampoline, and my dad had cemented a goal in the ground. That thing, you couldn't. It's still up to this day.
Indestructible.
He's got a damn DirecTV dish on it, about 40 foot in the air, and you could make it go up and down. But we would slide that basketball goal or that trampoline under that goal. We were 10, 12 years old. And it's a wonder that we didn't all have broke necks, legs. We would fall through the springs. And I mean,
we didn't have this sissy stuff with a net around.
No.
It was springs loose.
But we had a couple of kids there in town, because when we went to school, it was the private school and the public school, and we played ball together in the summer. We won national runner up one year.
Yep.
And so we had some good games, but it was, for us white boys, it was an equalizer. Because they weren't, they couldn't out jump us on that trampoline. So
memories.
Man,
That's
we had fun though.
That's the main thing.
Yep. So tell me a little bit about fishing. You getting ready, geared up?
I fished Friday. I took some guys I do business with for Vertex Energy. KLX Energy furnishes all the housing out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's my customer and his boy and another friend of his. I'm training them how to fish. They're grown men, but they hadn't fished a lot. So I took them Friday. I took them about a month before that. We caught 38. We went this past week and only got very few bites because water temperature is 47.5 degrees.
You fishing for you bass fishing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too. Is there anything like, because hey, this is wide open on jumping offside. You can tell whatever. Like, are you coaching any? Like, if there's any kids that want to learn how to shoot, if there's any kids that want to learn how to fish, like, are you doing anything like that for trade? I mean,
no, none of that. I just sometimes I'll see some kids shooting over at my house. I might over at the park there in Greenwood. I might go there, and if I see them struggling shooting, I might give them a few pointers. But
that would be awesome.
And then for kids fishing, they got fishing teams now. You can go to school and fishing.
That's awesome. I wish they'd have had it when I was young.
It's a big deal.
Well, and I've watched you. You have a grandson, Ty. And he's playing for Carthage, right? Baseball.
Yeah. Left-handed, 6'1.5",
and has some of the best control. And he had that, a couple of years back when he was in the 8th grade. But what I've watched a lot of with him, and I'm like, man, that has his granddad written all over it, is his work ethic out there on the mound at home, throwing into the net and all the. I mean, he's like, and he's working at it, and it's like. It's like you can tell that you've told him if you're going to be any good at it, you're fixing to control it and get it all down. And to me, he's jam up to be in high school, to be pitching.
Because if you're not practicing,
that's
your
right.
competition is.
Somebody is. That's right. And that's the ones that are going to make it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can push as a parent all you want. And I see this so much. I see so many parents with the travel ball, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you want to do it, it's fine. But you better make sure little Jimmy wants it as much as you. You know the question that I ask a guy this, and his son's a stud. He's going to be. He's like in the 10th or 11th grade, and oh my gosh, he's the next whatever. I asked him. I said, "I got a question for you," and I said, "This is you as a dad." Because he was telling me all about his kid and amazing pitcher. He can hit just as good as he pitches, and he's this kid. He's going to make it. I said, okay. I said, you do understand. Like, because I've seen we had a kid or he's not a kid. He's a good friend of the show, good friend of ours, Josh Booty. You know, he's top 5 draft pick. He still had to ride the bus before he got to the Marlins. And so what I ask every parent is little Jimmy prepared to ride the bus?
Yeah.
Because for $300 a month, not a week, but a month. But he's going to play for the Birmingham Barons in Double-A ball, and nobody's even going to know who he is. You think he's great, and just because you get drafted, whether it's in the second round or the 145th round, he's got to ride the bus. Are you prepared? And is he because all this travel ball that we played, wearing his little ass arm out and wearing him out, he doesn't really have it. You have it, wanting him to be that good. So the want to has to be from there, and don't burn them out. So would you have any kind of lessons for other parents and stuff about your kids? Like make sure they love it as much as you do, or how do you help that kid? Like, how do you foster that to them where they do love it, where they, like you were, where you just eat and breathe and sleep it?
Well, it's a fine line. And like you said, and that happens so much now with this travel baseball and stuff, you know. It's just parents wanting their kid. They want to live through their kid, you know, and they want the kid to be a successful athlete and do good and be proud of him, you know. And by wanting that, you got him in batting practice, pitching practice, fielding practice. You got him in all these practices and stuff. And you know, and he's watching some of his friends or that ain't doing all that, you know. And it's a fine line, you know, whether that kid is going to go on and do what he should do. Other than you pushing him to do it, or you going to do it, you know, and then they say, okay, I've had enough. I can say myself, nobody done it to me. I done it to myself.
No, that's right.
Nobody pushed me. I loved it, and I wouldn't have changed things the way I did it, and enjoyed every minute of it, but nobody forced it on me.
Well, and for the way it is now, too, I mean, your parents either have to have a really good banker or they got to be independently wealthy to do all the things. I mean, with the travel ball, with the hotels all this and that.
That's a lot.
It's a $10 billion industry in the United States of
America. I love that you brought that up. That tells me you studied that. Like,
So my last question for you before we leave, what was it like with your other family members? Like, I know you know, when you were coming up playing ball like that, were they 100% behind you? Was there any brothers that you had that were like, I was better than him, or you know, nothing like that?
I can't remember nothing like that. I'm gonna tell you this one story, then we'll wrap it up. But I wish I could find this picture for you. Our old clapboard house that we had, it caught on fire and burnt down. They built another house for us, a shotgun house. And the back porch, you had a back porch, but didn't have a roof on it. And I got a picture. I was in the 7th grade, and the coach told me I could play on the JV team, but I didn't have a suit. So my two youngest ones in our family, 2 girls, Sister Kathy and Sister Hazel, how I got my daddy to get me a pair of white shorts and a white T-shirt, brand new now. I'm going to be out there with the junior boys, school, and I didn't have no number. So the girls got a red art paper and drew me a 0.
First number was 0.
0, and they pinned it on the back. So when finally got in the game, I said, I know I'm going to get in. I went out there. I was hooping, son. I was hooping, shooting. Hey, that next JV game, I had me a uniform.
Come on. What was your number? I've never asked you that.
I had
what was your
11,
number?
I think, and 12, 11, 12. But I remember that. And we got a picture of that, them pinning that on me. And I played that
That's
game.
awesome.
But
That is so awesome.
Game, I scored more than anybody that was in the eighth grade.
Right.
But that next JV game, I had me a
unit.
I had me a uniform. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, here's what I can tell you, and jumping off sides, hey, Google this man, look him up. He will downplay it all, but he's one of my heroes in life. He's one of my heroes in sport. He's a dear friend, and now you're a dear friend of this show, and I know John David feels the same way. Thank you for coming on, and on behalf of Jumping Off Sides, Louisiana Downs Racetrack and Casino, as well as Rubber Boot Crawfish Company, Bass Energy Services, Road Tag Services, we want to thank you for being part of it, and we ask that you would strive for perfection and settle for excellence. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the show.
Thank you, Greg.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you for tuning in to the Jumping Off Sides podcast. For all the latest content on the Florida Gators
and the LSU Tigers,
tune in each week as we bring new and exciting guests from legends to life.
bringing you behind-the-scenes stories from all your favorite athletes and coaches like never before. Everything you love is right here.
Go Gators.
Go Tigers.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Oh, Great American Pillow Fight coming at you.
Man, take me out. Somebody just turned the go switch on these suckers and people are moving a lot faster. Something's going on, and I ain't ready.